The state of the nation has been a major discourse for a while now, with the federal government doing all within its power to cushion the effect of hardship on Nigerians. The dire economic situation and hardship prompted protests from citizens who have demanded that changes be made to alleviate the sufferings of the people. Also, the cost of doing business has gone through the roof in Nigeria, causing unprecedented harm to businesses, government, and consumers. Airline operators are not left out, as aviation workers across Nigeria are threatening to stage a nationwide protest on August 21, 2024, in response to the federal government's continued deduction of 50% from the internally generated revenue of key aviation agencies. The unions made this announcement in a letter dated August 14, 2024, titled "Save Aviation from Collapse." There is also talks about the Nigeria Airspace Management Agency, NAMA, proposing to increase the aircraft navigation fees by 800%. The planned hike may have more Nigerians opting for road travel, as airline tickets may go up. Joining us to discuss these issues is Professor Obiora Okonkwo, OFR, Chief Executive of United Nigeria Airlines. He's also the President, Nigeria-Russia Chamber of Commerce and Industries. He would also be sharing his thoughts on the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development of Nigeria, Festus Keyamo, leading a delegation to Europe over Abuja's second runway project, and also how the federal government can foster a healthy environment for businesses to thrive. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning. All right, Professor.
Thank you. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good to have you. Let's go straight into the issues. I've listed a litany of issues plaguing the aviation industry. It's easy for people to want to book a flight and complain about just how exorbitant the prices are. But as I've highlighted, it's as a result of fees, levies, just tightening this sector. Can you share with us what is going on with the 800% increment in the levies, and also just share with us some of the taxes that are being levied on airline operators like yourselves, making it difficult to run business in Nigeria?
Yeah, we have said severally in this platform and so many other occasions that the airline operators are overtaxed. For every single ticket that is sold, there are about 20 deductions going to different government agencies. And these 20 deductions obviously constitute a great percentage of the fare that you charge to your clients. It is known all over the world by ICAO rules that aviation agencies can only make charges to recover their costs, but not to make profit, talk less of being a source of revenue for government. But like you have seen in the recent letter by aviation operators, we have been vindicated that huge amount of the money they collect are not reinvested in providing aviation infrastructure at airports and so many other places, but rather goes into government posts for other purposes. It's against international aviation law. So for us, we think that government should listen to this cry. Now the aviation workers have joined this agitation and do the needful. Aviation is no more a means of travel for the rich. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. I've said severally, it's a catalyst for economic growth. It's an enabler. Any country that cannot fly, they have not started doing any form of business, it will affect the economic development. So for us in aviation, it's not how much ticket, it's not how much we charge the clients. It is just the percentage of our little profit that matters. So we are ready as soon as these rates, some of them, for instance, we have 5% passengers rate. This 5%, we've said, was introduced some years back when there was not even NCA or funding for aviation. It was introduced to bridge a gap, that period, to provide some money for the government agency to operate. It has become permanent. not only that has become permanent, a lot more are coming up. You've just mentioned about NAMA waking up one day and increasing the fares for 800%. I mean, their charges. That's ridiculous. And it remains on record that Nigeria charges the highest aviation charges all over the world, more than the United States of America, more than the other Western world, that even the facilities are all functional. So I hope that for us in aviation, now these are our cry and issues that have been raising are now known by even the operators, the workers who are in the sector. We welcome their voice, their strong voice, and we hope that government should listen and do something quickly to avoid a situation that they will make do their threat, because it will not be good for anyone.
Thank you for that outlook on the current state of the aviation sector. Now, in the notice to protest, the aviation workers said save aviation from collapse. In your experience and in your observation of what's currently happening in the sector, do you feel Nigeria's aviation sector is at the brink of collapse?
I've started saying 2 years ago that the industry is on support machine, on oxygen. There are sectors that are more vulnerable to any volatile situation in the economy or in a country. Aviation is one of them. By the time I started crying out about the dangers of potential hike in jet A1 fuel, the potential hike in interest rate, and then also the forex challenges, it had not started affecting many sectors. So I was like the lone voice in the wilderness. But until now, I've just finished listening to the president of MAN in Nigeria, that it's affecting all sectors. Aviation is so volatile that even the changes affect it on a daily basis. Weather, if you wake up today and there's a weather change, whether it's harmattan or rain, it affects aviation. So for a very long time, it has been facing existential threat. But the only surviving issue is that the operators today, the new breed operators, thanks to great people like Epis, the level of resilience and patriotism, that is what's keeping us here. If we have to weigh our engagements and operations based on our profit and loss, oh man, we would have long closed shop. There was a time I was saying that if you are paying less than $100 for 1 hour trip of any flight you make within the country, we are subsidizing you. Many people think it wasn't true, but that's the case. All right, but at that point, people were still paying 50,000 naira to fly when it was costing us about 150,000 naira to make the flight. So we've been losing a lot of money. And the unfortunate thing is that we don't even see any help coming from any source because nobody is engaging us. So it is a fact, it is true. It is only resilience, patriotism, and commitment to our contribution to national development and building that is still keeping us flying. But nevertheless, there is elasticity of that resilience. There is a limitation to which it can go. And you've seen, I had one and a half years ago when I was in one of your programs when people were concerned about safety as a possible consequences of all this existential threat. I said, no, safety is a no-no. We are 100% guided by safety regulations in Nigeria, more than most part of the world. But the only thing you will see is that there will be more aircraft on ground than those flying. And the danger is that the fewer the aircraft you have flying, the more pressure you have on the few that are flying, then the law of demand and supply will easily apply. And that is what is happening. Not only that some of these airlines are collapsing because they may not sustain it anymore, but there are also clear issues that even if you have some money in Naira, which we are selling our tickets, you are chasing and pursuing foreign exchange that is all high up there. So I really think that the concern they have there is genuine, and we need to save this sector, not only from the point of the taxes that are there. We've called for government to reduce taxes. We've called for government to clear this issue of 5%. Let me tell you, the fact is that we, on monthly basis, have invoice that we have to pay to NCA more than the money we make for ourselves.
Okay.
And this is running to billions of naira. More than the money we return. We need to have this thing to help us improve our operations. Yes.
Okay. Good to talk to you again. Truth is, if you're making so much losses and you say it's because of national patriotism that you subsidize it just to keep the aviation sector going, so does it make business sense for you what you're doing? Because at some point you'll be accountable to your investors. So does it make business sense? And where do you think, what kind of capital injection do you think that we can have to be able to cushion the effect on the aviation sector? Because it's really hurts. But you're saying here you're losing a lot of money, but does it make businesses to keeping on? Because we've heard about, there was a research done recently about how many aviation companies have failed over the years. Today we don't talk about a Qatar airline anymore, we don't talk about Sosoliso anymore, and the list keeps going on and on. So it's like our aviation sector is a graveyard for our equity.
Well, the truth of the matter is that some businesses today outside aviation operate and they lose money. You don't close shop the first day, the first month, the first year, you lose money. You might lose money today, you make money tomorrow. You might lose money one season and make money the other season. But by and large, the economic environment and the business situation does not allow you to meet the projections you've set for yourself. So this is basically what it's all about. But, you've mentioned about businesses, aviation companies that closed up in the past. Obviously, the situation now is different. The days of Okada, there were certain regulations that did not allow them, to adjust their prices accordingly, because then it was regulated. Now it's a deregulated environment. You can charge your ticket as much as your operational cost, but there's a limitation to which you can push it, because if you push it so far, less people will afford to fly. And when you fly empty aircraft to a destination, you will lose more money. So sometimes it's not about how much you charge per ticket, but it's about the yield, you make out of seat available in the aircraft. Because the unfortunate thing about this thing is that if an aircraft takes off from Lagos to Abuja, it's costing you a fixed amount of money, whether you have passengers or you don't have. So we don't want to push prices so far. So I remember last 2 years, you can easily fly for 20, 30,000 naira. Obviously, that is within the naira exchange rate. Today, people pay as much as 200-something thousand naira. In the same flight where people pay 200,000 to fly, you may have seen somebody bought his ticket earlier enough at 60, 80,000. So when you balance it plus minus, so what we need is not just about ticket we sell. We need to grow our fleet. All right, we need to increase our capacity. And for that to be done, we need to have access to a single-digit loan. We never ask government to give us money for free or grant. No, this is business. This single-digit loan is not available. We go to market to compete for commercial loans at 35%. The same rate for somebody who is importing Indian head to Nigeria, or toothpick, or other things that are not of such consequential importance. We don't have access to window of foreign exchange, where we even get from the government. So for over a year now, we have not bidded in the open market. Good enough that the new system of deregulation of the forest makes it available for you to access foreign exchange, but the rates are high. At that rate, it's very difficult for aviation industry to compete, because now aviation is a world business. It's a one world for aviation. It's the same business that are doing in America, doing in UK. When the American competitor goes to his bank, he gets loan at 1% or 2% for 10, 20 years, as long as he wants. is in US dollars. He's selling his ticket in US dollars. And then when you go to your bank, you get loan at 35%. Probably the next, and then with a caveat, this rate is liable to change without any notification based on policies coming out from CBN. The next day, CBN hikes the MPR again, then they're charging you at 40%, even before you know it. So how can you survive? These are the things we are talking about collectively. So it might not be losses on the issue of Naira and Kobo. We need to be more competitive. We need to be strengthened.
So how long, my question is, how long can you push on with these losses? You're not here to run the Father Christmas sweatshop.
Well,
how long can you push on with these losses?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It cannot be for the rest of our life. Some people, it's a long race. Some people who have lost him are already, dropping out. You'll be surprised how many that might be affected in the next few months. We hope it will not be too long, But again, in every business you do, you are supposed to make certain provisions to cushion some exigencies that might happen within a period. You can accommodate to 1 year, 6 months, and so on. But when it becomes, a lifestyle, you don't want to die because you're in aviation. But it's a very addictive kind of business, and it's a thing that gives joy and satisfaction. It's just like my brother and friend Airpiece. If you look at him from head to toe, he's just thinking 24 hours about this with a lot of... I know he had so many ideas and great things he would have done with this, but these restrictions are affecting him, and also a whole lot of other operators. Sometimes I was there, and I told you within a period of time we're going to add about 6 aircraft in our fleet. We're still battling with it. Because all of a sudden, even if you have money to pay, some countries that you are dealing business with will say, we've reviewed their papers, we've reviewed their documents, it's perfect, we are even impressed with what you are doing, but you have a big country risk that we can't venture into your country. So they will reject you. So these things are issues. So we hope, and we're thankful to the aviation minister who has a listening ear, and we've continued to hammer before him that, look, we don't want you to dash us money. We want you to look into policies that are internal here that are affecting us, issues that are external in Nigeria that are giving us a disadvantage. I can tell you he's working very seriously on all of those things, and we hope that as soon as the result starts showing up in the next weeks or months, we might have a breathing space. So that's what we are praying for. And in that case, it might not take us too long anymore to carry this burden.
All right.
But you see, yeah.
Well, thank you. So I want to ask about the update on the industrial action by the union, especially as a result of cutting of the aviation industry ministry taking 50% of IGR from source. Last week, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Minister Festus Keyamo, had come out to ask for peace and just speak. To what extent did his statement have an impact on whether or not the industrial action will still go on? That's next week, I believe, 21st of August. Are you still going ahead with it, or has the union been placated by his initial engagement with them?
Well, I think let's make it clear here. That's the aviation workers union and not the operators. But having listened to their demand and read their press release is genuine. It's something we have raised over and over. The minister obviously had pleaded. That's the good step. He's ready to talk with them. But they should meet that pleading with some specific actions. Today, from our records, NCA is about second or third largest contributor of revenue to government. That's an absurd. It doesn't happen in any part of the world. Government shouldn't be going to NCA to collect money they collect from us, from the operators. And the only way money comes into the whole aviation ecosystem is from the operators, and that's only when tickets are sold. Operators locally and operators coming in from outside. So basically, the only solution to this is that they need to take concrete steps, cut down on certain charges, and then allow some of these funds to remain with these government agencies and to improve the infrastructure. Today, people will face us and challenge us for flight delays. If there is Harmattan, Christmas season is coming, and for simple Harmattan change of weather, you have your aircraft on ground for 2, 3, 4 hours. I mean, but in other parts of the world where there is winter, where there is other bad weather, aircraft land on zero visibility. It has nothing to do with the operators. These are the money that is required to be invested. So we think that the government should match their pleading with action. They should allow some of these funds to remain with these agencies, and when they remain, it should be guarded and monitored very, very, very seriously to ensure that they don't just go and engage on brick and mortar just to spend the money. It has to be things that will be directly going to the improvement of infrastructure for smooth operations and better service to the traveling public. So I think the people mean business, and until government meet them halfway and with actions and not by words, I'm afraid that we might face disruptions next week.
And talking about disruptions,
I don't want that to happen.
We absolutely don't want that to happen. So I do hope the relevant authorities are paying attention and are ready to engage in this conversation. But talking about disruptions and the general welfare and safety of passengers, there's a report from Business Day that spoke about how the FX crisis has led airlines to be forced to do their maintenance locally. So C checks and so forth are now having to be done locally, whereas most people were going internationally for it before. Now, the report was alluding to the fact that there simply aren't enough facilities to accommodate all of the aircrafts, I believe 91 commercial aircrafts operating in this environment. My question to you is with regards to this ecosystem, something like maintenance that's, so concerning, so worrying, so critical in this sector. Do we have the ecosystem to be able to deliver maintenance fully locally? That's number one. Number two, what are the implications of the fact that it's no longer feasible for our airlines to do their regular checks internationally as they did before?
Well, I think recently, Business Day probably has caught some virus that is making them write nonsense in their newspapers. They wrote things out of ignorance. There was a recent one, they wrote that the aviation industry has been blacklisted from leasing because they are owing. You recall my press release that asked them to retract that and render apologies, which they did. So they just come up again. If they have any knowledge of how these things work in the industry, you know that our safety issues are second to none in any part of the world. Take it from me. There are, in Africa, for instance, 31 IOSA certified operators in the entire African country, 50-something countries. Out of these 31, you have 6 of them in Nigeria. And IOSA just simply put in the least word is safety. United Nigeria as a company just had their second IOSA certification because each certification lasts for 2 years. They come back to you and check you inside out. It's the same IOSA team that come to certify you, that go to BA, to Qatar, to everything. So in terms of safety, I can say, go to bed and sleep. Every regulatory checks that are required to be done in this country is done more than any other places. I fly in my aircraft, okay? APs fly, all other operators fly the aircraft, and they wouldn't have done anything where they find there's something funny. And if, in any case, anything is found wanting, NCA is there, they step in. So we don't have any fear of safety. Now, the issue of maintenance, yes, we don't have capacity to do certain level of services. It is not necessarily an operator that does its own maintenance. It depends on your size and the size of fleet and the availability of funds. Then you can invest in your own maintenance outfit. Otherwise, NCA can certify you to maintain certain line maintenance based on the capacity of your engineering and the equipment. But when it comes to this issue of C-check, then there are other maintenance organizations that would have been certified by NCA that we can take them out. Yes, we are facing all those things. It is there, but it's not in any way a threat to safety. So where you are not able to take them out to maintain when the time comes, the aircraft is on ground. So these are one of the reasons why I see more of aircraft on ground than flying.
Okay. But real quickly, I get what you're saying. You can hit business day all you want, but we have seen many skirmishes. We have seen the case of alleged water in the tank of a plane. We have seen tire mishaps. We have seen false starts or false landings and things like that. We've seen a lot of these skirmishes, and a lot of people are beginning to raise concerns. Even recently, you remember the case of an airline. Anyway, that was because of a legal case prior to this time. So we've seen all of this, detailed case. And there's also an investigative job done by David Ode, where he was talking about some of these challenges in the aviation sector as regards NCA and safety. What would you like to tell us?
Yes, you are right, Oseni. This is not peculiar. When you see mishaps, when you see tire burst, when you see all those things, they are not peculiar to Nigeria. There are things you can see in aviation. But what matters is what happens. It could happen. Even you can wake up and get into your brand new car today, and around while you drive along the road, it has a burst. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria. The issue of fuel, obviously it happened, and don't forget it was dictated. It was dictated because there were mechanisms and things that are in place to dictate that. It did not cause any mishap. So these setups are there, and immediately that was done. In aviation, it may not be that things will not happen, but it's when it happens, what are the precautions and the preventive measures that have been taken? And ever since we discovered that, they have tightened a lot in so many areas, and they are stopped. So you've also seen in other parts of the world, aircraft dropping from the air on the ground. Those places are not Nigeria. We don't pray that it happens. But I can tell you that when it comes to regulation, NCAA is on top of it. And I can tell you.
That's really good to hear.
We do lease aircraft.
We do
lease aircraft from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please, you can take that to the bank, honestly speaking.
Yeah, but that's really good that you've given that recommendation or that public commendation of NCAA. I have had an experience with them recently when they came out through. But let me end,
on the issue of regulation, on safety, yes. Yeah.
Let me end on this note. You had talked about...
On the issue of safety.
Yes. Let me talk about this very quickly. Congratulations. Let's celebrate the wins and businesses like yours who, against all odds, are still thriving in the sector. I learned that you've gotten your certificate of registration, and IATA has recognized United Nigeria Airlines as IATA Operational Safety Audit operator in the IOSA program. So congratulations on that to you and the team, and to all other airlines who are excelling and trying their best to be the best against all odds. Congratulations. All right.
Thank you very much. That means a whole lot to us. We appreciate it. And Arise remains the favorite TV station for the aviation industry. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
That's our own award for this morning. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. We'll take a quick break right now. And again, just a great conversation there on aviation, highlighting some of the challenges and, very importantly, positioning some solutions that the government could take into cognizance.